Earlier this week, the British government deported 17 foreign criminals to the island of Jamaica. Now, this isn't particularly eventful. We deport thousands of non-British convicts each year to countries all over the world, as does Canada, as does Germany, as does practically every country, really. It's more or less business as usual.
The flight has gone ahead, and it's absolutely right that it does so because, again, the government's number one responsibility is to protect the public. And on that flight, there's not a single British citizen. They are all foreign national offenders. Not one of them, by the way, is a member of the Windrush generation. These are all foreign national offenders that are guilty of crimes that have led to sentences of at least 12 months or more. And this includes crimes such as manslaughter, rape, dealing in Class A drugs. And it is absolutely right that if you are a foreign national offender, once you have served your sentence in the UK, that we deport you.
Bingo!
The UK Borders Act 2007, passed under Tony Blair, no less, stipulates the automatic deportation of a non-British citizen who has been convicted of an offence and has been sentenced to at least 12 months in jail. And the individuals to be deported didn't even contest the applicability of these facts to their cases. One of them even phoned a radio station the day before the flight and basically confessed on air.
So, you committed a crime when?
The last time I committed a crime or have anything to do with getting in trouble, it was over 10 years ago.
And what was the crime, if I can ask?
It was for section 48.
What's that?
Like, it's like something, you slap someone or something like that.
An assault?
Yeah, an assault.
And were you jailed for that?
14 months.
So 14 months for a Section 48, I think he said? Well, to my knowledge, a Section 48 assault doesn't exist. There is a Section 47, which is ABH. Actual bodily harm. So if he means that, well, I remember sitting in, actually, on a criminal trial that took place in Dublin a few years ago. The guy in that case was being prosecuted for ABH, and what he'd done was, during an argument in a pub, smash his bottle against the bar and proceed to jab the broken end into the other man's back. So that's an example of ABH, and it's a pretty serious crime. Now, I don't know the details of this guy's case, but I'm fairly sure you don't get 14 months for slapping someone.
Like, it's like something, you slap someone or something like that.
Yeah, sure. And what you slap him with? The hand of God? Give me a break. So it's important that people understand not only is the Home Office entitled to do this, they must do this. It is a legal requirement, and if they failed to deport these people for whatever reason, they could technically be taken to court, particularly if one of them decided to reoffend. So that's pretty open and shut. Yes? I mean, I can't imagine a story like this would elicit a huge amount of controversy. We're all basically on the same page, right?
Here is an attempt by the government to throw red meat to racists. I point it out, you can deny it, you can dispute it, that's fine. You might be right, I might be wrong, but this is my view, this is my theory, my opinion.
James, you're a fucking clown. All right, I'll play. How is it racist? How is this racist? In 2018, we deported roughly 5,000 foreign criminals, okay? The vast majority of these were white Europeans, including 1,200 Romanians, 1,200 Albanians, and 700 Poles. Now, I don't remember you complaining too much about that, but 17 Jamaicans are sent packing, and this is somehow throwing red meat to racists? I mean, if by that you're implying we can never deport a black person because some racist out there might be happy about it for the wrong reasons, well, congratulations. you've just succeeded in creating one rule for blacks and one rule for everybody else. I think there's a word for that, isn't there?
That's fine. You might be right, I might be wrong, but this is my view. This is my theory, my opinion.
Your theory, yeah. Not so much theory of evolution, per se. More theory that Elvis is still alive. Jesus Christ, you're an embarrassment. Just stop.
I think this is a very deliberate attempt. How many people of colour, for example, do you think the government would have to deport to make up for the fact that nobody's life is going to be improved by the Brexit that they voted for? Answer, an infinite number.
No, it's not an infinite number. It's about 7,300, according to the Daily Mail. Now, that figure might not be right, but I'll make it easy for you, okay? It's the number of foreign criminals in Britain guilty of serious crimes. It's that number. Precisely. No more, no less, of all backgrounds, be they people of colour or people of, what are we? Non-colour? The people of the fucking beige? You're such a... They have to go. Brexit or no Brexit. I mean, and I love this guy. With him, all roads lead to Brexit.
No deliverable Brexit was desirable, and no desirable Brexit was deliverable. Brexit, 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 Brexit. No deal Brexit. The Brexit vote. But which Brexit vote? Just stick the word Brexit on a bucket of cold sick. Brexit, 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 Brexit. The Brexit you wanted. Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. Brexit is an English disease.
You could be talking about anything. It doesn't matter. Unemployment's down, James. Yeah, until Brexit kicks in. Huawei bagged the 5G contract. Well, that's Brexit for you. Margot Robbie looked good at the Oscars last week. Yeah, is she for Brexit though? Shut up! You're a fucking bore.
I think this is a very deliberate attempt. How many people of colour, for example, do you think the government would have to deport to make up for the fact that nobody's life is going to be improved by the Brexit that they voted for? Answer, an infinite number. And then you can sort of fig leaf it by saying, well, no, hang on, they're rapists and murderers, to which I say, look, I'm perfectly comfortable with rapists and murderers being punished much more severely than they currently are. I'm a fan of rehabilitation and reintegration, but I certainly hold no candle for these people. But you've been so successfully groomed and gaslit that you end up like the fella texting in saying, typical liberal tosh. So lock him up for longer, that's fine.
You daft prick.
Why would we do that? Why would we house non-British criminals any longer than we had to? It costs roughly 40 grand to keep a single prisoner in jail every year, okay? About 10% of our 90,000 prisoners are foreign nationals, which means we are spending an additional £350 million for every additional year we keep all of those people here. That would build a hospital. A damn fine hospital. Okay? Now, obviously, not all of those criminals meet the legal standard for deportation, but why are you, James O'Brien, keen to spend more money on the ones that clearly do?
If I commit a murder today, when I get out of jail, I still go home. Oh, where's your home? Well, it's not in flipping Jamaica.
Yes, we know, James. To my unending frustration, you are British, and you have the same rights as me. We can't just fucking deport you. Don't rub it in, buddy. And what's wrong with Jamaica? Anyway, I know there's a bit of crime there, but it's not Afghanistan, for God's sake. It's not a war zone. It's a holiday island. Why not go to Jamaica? I don't know. I haven't been, but you could smoke some weed, join the bobsleigh team. There's loads of things to be getting on with.
And that's why this story is, I think, very deliberately being served up to you as an invitation to essentially start the steps, to essentially start thinking about, well, if we deported them, why can't we get rid of them? After all, why did you vote for Brexit? Even after the Windrush scandal, you're still comfortable with people being sent to Jamaica without absolutely every effort being made to ensure that it's right and proper?
Yeah, James, you're demented. First of all, spare me the slippery slope rubbish, will you? Nobody, and I mean no person, is talking about deporting anyone with a British passport. You know that. You're a gimp. And I think he just made the case that you can't deport foreign offenders because you'll end up freewheeling. You just go completely out of control, and it'll be like, and you get a deportation, and you get a deportation, and you get a deportation.
But this is my view, this is my theory, my opinion.
James, your opinions are shies, your theories are shies. And after Windrush, this has nothing to do with Windrush, okay? And if you had any shame at all, you wouldn't use British law-abiding people as human shields when fighting your crusade to defend foreign rapists and murderers. I mean, do they even realise they're doing this? I don't know, maybe they do. Or maybe the desire to race hustle, it's just so strong, it possesses them, it takes over completely, and anything resembling integrity, it just evaporates like smoke.
So I say to him, when will we see this lessons learned review? It was promised in March last year. It was then delayed till September. We are almost now 2 years on. And people watching see the way that this government holds in such disrespect the contribution of West Indian, Caribbean and black people in this country. When will Black Lives Matter once again?
Yeah, excuse me, Judge, sorry. Right. Thanks for that. I will action that. Right.
The criminals! Won't somebody please think of the criminals? Fucking madness. And they're all doing it. Jeremy Corbyn, Diane Abbott, Dawn Butler was on LBC this week, crying foul, claiming that yes, they're foreigners, and yes, they're criminals, but the only reason they meet the 12-month sentencing requirement for deportation is because they got longer sentences because they're black. I mean, it's amazing. Listen.
One of the excuses that Boris had given was about the length of jail sentences. Well, we know if you take this back another step, that young black men get longer sentences for exactly the same crimes as young white men.
This is something David Lammy unearthed, isn't it?
Absolutely,
others, yeah.
The Lammy Review. And that hasn't been dealt with.
Yeah, the Lammy Review, aka the Race Hustler's Bible, hasn't been dealt with. You don't even care why that is. You don't even care. Why, Dawn? Why do young black men, on average, receive longer sentences? I mean, there's a bunch of reasons. There's a whole heap. But one of the main reasons is actually documented in the Lammy Review, if you're bothered to check. When discussing the length of sentencing, he writes, other decisions have important consequences. For example, analysis of the same 2014-2015 data shows that black defendants were consistently more likely to plead not guilty in court. Admitting guilt can result in community punishment rather than custody, or see custodial sentences reduced by up to a third. Plea decisions are an important factor in the disproportionate makeup of the prison system. Of course they are. Of course they are. If you plead not guilty and are found guilty, the judge will throw the book at you. You haven't shown contrition, you've wasted everybody's time, that's obvious. No, but what were you saying? Fuck Britain or something? Carry on?
So if you take each step of this case back further
You think
and
it has parallels?
just try and dismantle it, you'll see that there are systematic and institutional structures, systematic and institutional structures, systematic and institutional structures, which are prejudice.
That's it, Dawn. Become the meme. Systematic institutional structures. Okay, I'm fairly sure atheism is unstoppable literally sells T-shirts with that on it, or something to that effect. Systemic institutions of structural systems, or something like that. But hang on, let's find it. Right, here we are. Systemic systems of structural institutions.
Systematic and institutional structures.
So, what I suggest is that if you happen to live in Dawn Butler's constituency and would like to thank her for all the hard work she's undoubtedly doing, buy one of these T-shirts and send it to her. Because she'll wear it unironically. It'll be fantastic. Wait a minute, I think he sells them in extra large. Hang on. Yep, we're good to go.
Even after the Windrush scandal, you're still comfortable with people being sent to Jamaica without absolutely every effort being made to ensure that it's right and proper?
Well, we know they're not British, we know they're convicts, and we know they have undergone prolonged and detailed legal proceedings, and a judge has ultimately determined they meet the requirements for deportation. Now, I don't know what more you want us to do, James. I mean, you do realise how difficult it can be to deport somebody, right? I mean, we understand that. From this case, there should have been 50 people on the flight originally, and most were pulled off at the last minute on a technicality. They didn't have mobile phone signal in their detention centre or something, and this was used to claim these individuals hadn't had access to justice. It's a very tricky business. Believe me, I know one or two immigration lawyers, and they work bloody hard to keep their clients in country, okay? They build strong cases, and they have a lot of law on their side.
Adam in New Denham, talk to Hallie. You're on the radio. Go ahead.
Hi there, Hallie. Hi there, Nick. I'm an ex-immigration officer, spent 7 years, and if I could just tell you a bit about the process. Now, there's a special court near Harmondsworth that actually hears these cases, so it's not a government decision, it's a judge's decision. Now, we used to put together a file to actually say why we think this person was such a risk to society or a perpetual offender and should be sent back. We used to turn up at that court badly prepared with an immigration officer presenting the case. The detainee used to turn up often with a lawyer and a barrister, and very often the case would go against us and the person would be permitted to stay. Now, consider the fact that these 50 people have gone through that process where effectively Immigration Service has gone in with one hand tied behind their back, and still a judge, and I say this, a judge, a member of the judiciary, has said this person should no longer be in this country. This is a judge's decision. It's not a government decision.
You're completely and utterly relaxed and convinced that these people will have had access to justice, and these are fair deportations.
The raft of support from both lawyers on legal aid and non-government organisations and charities would be overwhelming for these people. The mere fact that they couldn't get a signal on their mobile phone to call their lawyers.
Yeah.
They have telephones in the detention centre. They also have lawyers come and visit them. They get paid on legal aid to visit. So I tell you, there's no shortage of lawyers queuing up to actually visit their detainees because they get paid every time they visit them.
Even after the Windrush scandal, you're still comfortable with people being sent to Jamaica without absolutely every effort being made to ensure that it's right and proper? Yeah. Well, that's weird. It's almost as if you think that people from Jamaica have fewer rights than you do.
They literally do.
Now, what could it be about people from Jamaica that makes you think they're, in some sense, inferior to you?
Oh, is it because they're black, James? Is that the reason? Or is it because they're not British? They're Jamaican, and we have to draw the line. I mean, this is a nation of citizens, James. Do you understand that as a concept? Or am I talking to a brick wall here? And it's nothing to do with inferior, you fucking spaz. Notice how he slots that word in, as if anybody's talking about inferiority or superiority. What? That is your pathological interpretation of my side. That is your straw man. That is who you want to be fighting with right now. And it's so fucking lame. You are a fantasist. But go ahead, James. You live out that fantasy, and you save those Jamaican blacks. I mean, sure, they're rapists and murderers, and we should probably put our safety first, and we are completely within our legal rights to deport these people. But go, James, go!
Hey, Jamaica! Keep it down. You're not owning this place.
Sorry, sir, sorry. I didn't mean to bother anyone.
You have no business here, Jamaica. You and your stupid friend playing like you're bobsledders. Yeah? Why don't you tourists go back to where the issue came from and leave the bobsledding to the real men?
Well, I'm a real man.
You want to say something, Jamaica? Come on, out with it.
And there's James, look, in blackface and a fat suit, standing up to racism. Yeah, keep walking, racist. Well done, James. I know that is the image you have of yourself in your head, James. This is your demented world that you've created, so you enjoy it, buddy. You fucking enjoy it. Look, Britain is a fantastic place. We are tolerant, we are open, we accommodate people of all backgrounds, and we're happy to do so for the most part. Pro tip, though. If you do come from away and pay us a little visit, please integrate, contribute, respect the law, and don't commit any fucking crimes. Cheers!
When will Black Lives Matter once again?
Dear. Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear. The timing. Let's start with the review. When will it come? Ultimately, this is an independent review, and the timing is in the hands of the reviewer. Ministers cannot compel it to be produced by a particular date. And let's be clear. The status I can check. There are no British nationals on that flight. And let's be clear, the foreign national offenders on the flight have been sentenced to a total of 300 years in prison. The offences are, as we said, relate to everything from sex offending, serious drug trafficking offences, violent offences, firearms offences. You know, that is what is happening in this incident, and based on, apart from two, legislation passed under a Labour government in 2007. And I think to define the Windrush generation by this particular group of offenders is truly wrong. The Windrush generation should be defined by the midwife who delivered hundreds of babies, the person who travelled thousands of miles, worked hard and provided for their family for decades. And I do think it is absolutely remarkable now, the lines being adopted opposite, that somehow it's defined by those who are either serious or persistent criminal offenders being deported from this country. I have to say, many listening to the exchanges this afternoon will think the Labour Party not only lost an election, they've lost the plot as well.
Henry Smith. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.